Greetings everyone, welcome to another episode of The Professionals You Should Know. This show is about uncovering the journeys of professionals from different industries. And today we have the incredible and inspiring Annette Rugendo, who is a specialist dietitian. It's a pleasure having you here. Thank you for joining us.
You're very welcome. It's a pleasure to be here.
So what is it that you do?
I am a food service dietitian.
Alright, so what's that?
So I currently work for Imperial NHS Trust,
Okay.
and my role is quite varied, but the thing that probably will be most known for is being the dietitian behind the menus that patients get. So not just the standard menu. Obviously, if people are in hospital, they have therapeutic diets as well. So they might have cystic fibrosis, they may have oncology needs, they may need diabetic type provision, all of those sorts of things. So I oversee the preparations of those menus, but then I work quite a lot for service provision to ensure that the patients actually get what they need.
I never knew you existed. I never knew that role existed. I never knew that.
No, it's hidden, it's secret.
Really? So what kind of patients would you provide a service for? Because I know you said cystic fibrosis, but is it like a specific type? Or is it...
So generally you have a standard menu.
Right.
The standard menu covers particular things like vegetarian, higher energy, because patients are very often malnourished when they're inpatient, so they need more calories, more protein, easy to chew. So stuff that's softer options, so that people who need a moist diet, older people, could take that, and then balanced choice. So diabetic patients who need to eat a healthy balanced diet could do that. However, you may have modified texture. So this is where patients have dysphagia, so they have problems swallowing.
Right.
So we do different levels of diet. So they could be puree, soft and bite-sized, specific to what their bodies can tolerate. Or we have kosher, we have halal, we have Afro-Caribbean.
Really?
Yeah, we have vegan. We have lots and lots of different types of diets. And for the ones that we can't have a set diet for, we have made to order. So our diet chefs can prepare something that is very bespoke and specific
and
to
you
the
instruct
patients.
them to do that?
I try to. I try to say this is how it needs to be done. So yeah.
Wow. So what led you to becoming a dietitian? How did you become a professional we should know? Or what was your journey?
My journey.
Yeah.
Oh, I have rheumatoid arthritis.
Okay. So what is that for people?
So this is, my immune system is very overactive.
Right.
It's very good at killing things,
Right.
but it doesn't stop just a virus or a bacteria. It attacks my body as well. Okay. So I have to take medications to calm it down, tone it down, and just bring it back under control. Right. So I got very interested in food and diet and how it affects your body and your well-being. And I was like, God, this is really quite powerful. There's a lot of influence here.
In the food of your body?
Yeah, definitely. You know, you can eat things and it has a benefit. You can eat things and it has a negative impact. So that got me thinking, and I was diagnosed when I was a teenager. So as I got older, I just got more and more interested in it. And then I found out that you could be a dietitian and that they use science and they help in hospitals, and it was all very technical. So that really spoke to my theoretical brain, and I thought, this is really interesting, I'll do this. And I chose to be a dietitian over maybe doing a nutritionist, because I very much wanted to be involved in the therapeutic side, the side that deals with medicine and that interface, and really helping sick people to be better through meeting their nutritional needs.
And is it the normal journey I'm going to?
So dietetics was my second degree. So I did
second
that.
Degree?
Yeah, I did it later on in life.
So you had the first degree?
I did. I had my first degree, and then I had in geography, in human geography and environmental policy.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so I did that.
Okay.
Then I got married and had children, and decided, I'm going to do something different. So career change. So I went back to university as a mature student.
Nice.
And did a 4-year dietetics degree.
Wow.
At London Met. That was very challenging, very interesting. I learned a lot. But in the process, I thought, I don't think I want to be a clinical dietitian.
Okay,
so these are the ones that are in hospitals,
right,
on the wards.
That's the only one I've known. Yeah.
So everybody's always, that's what is typically known. But you have dietitians working in all sorts of different settings. They can be in the community, they can be in food service, they're in prisons, they're in schools, all of these settings, wherever there's anything to. Yeah, so there'll be dietitians that oversee what food provision is as well at different levels.
Really? I didn't know that.
I know. And I talk about the menus, but it's more than just that. It's a very, very varied career.
Yeah, I thought, I don't know, my ignorance, I just thought, dinner ladies and that's the
I don't think the dinner ladies look at the nutritional quality of the meal, bless them.
I didn't know.
Yeah. So I did that 4-year degree, and in it you do placements at different hospitals,
right?
So that you can get your experience. But I knew then, I don't think I want to do clinical dietetics. I don't think it's for me.
Right. How did you find out about the one that you did?
That's way down the line. Okay. So then after that, I was doing my dissertation at university, and I looked at something called cerebellar ataxia, which is where gluten attacks the base of your brain and it starts to interfere with your coordinations and your ability to move. So I did lots of research on that, and I found that really fascinating. So that opened up the world of research. So after I graduated, I went to Imperial and did research for about 4 or 5 years. Yeah, but that was it's quite challenging in academia. And my kids were very young at that time, so it just wasn't something.
So wait. So you done dietetics or dietitian? Mm-hmm. You didn't want to become a clinical, so you went to do some research.
So I did research.
And was that a particular? I know you said about.
So we were looking at the time that I was there. We looked at different aspects, but we were looking at non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and
that's interesting.
Yeah, just like how different supplements can just clear your liver of the build-up of fat and things like that. So it was very interesting, very, very interesting.
Do you know what the kind of cause was? The non-fat?
No, it's diet for non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, but it's a tricky one because you wouldn't necessarily know you have it unless you had a blood test that showed you had elevated LFTs, liver function enzymes in your blood. Yeah, so that was interesting. And so then after that, but then I had to stop. I got very unwell. It's very intense. And I had lots of personal changes in my life at that time, so that wasn't going to be very sustainable, and I needed to be able to be at home more with the children. So I saw a job advertised for a catering dietitian, and I'd never actually heard of them and I hadn't seen it, and I looked at the job description and I was like, I could do that. I know how to do that, and if I don't know how to do that, I know where to get the information to allow me to do that. So I went off for the interview and they liked me, and then they offered me the job, and it was a very steep learning curve, but I absolutely loved it.
Really?
Yeah. So then that was the start of how I got into food service.
Well, I can imagine, because obviously your background is research, and I'm guessing that will.
I think once you have that, the good thing about dietitians is we're very versatile. We can learn very quickly. We know where to go for information. We know how to quickly compile that information and to generate something out of nothing. That's the way that I describe it. So
that's amazing.
It was good. And then, but I've been fortunate because I've always been surrounded by people that believed in me and supported me and championed me, and that's been very helpful as well. So yeah. And
is there like a particular story that I know you mentioned previous things, like personal issues that made you transfer, but is there any particular story that stands out that, like, you know what, I actually really like this profession or job?
I think I like my job because of the variety. I get bored very quickly. And I'm not very good with repetitive stuff over and over. So this really challenged me to be the best that I could be. One of the things that I think does always stand out is when people initially see me, they tend to underestimate me. So I have lots of experiences where the people that I'm working with, I may rock up and they'll be like, this person's just never going to be able to bring all of this under control or manage all of these different requirements, or they just think I look too young. I don't always look my age, so they're always a bit confused and they think I'm much younger than I am. So whenever I'm interacting with people, it's very interesting to see the moment they decide, I like her.
Yeah.
She knows what she's talking about. And I've had lots of those experiences. I work quite a lot with catering managers, patient dining managers, facility sides of the hospital as opposed to the clinical side. Right. So my role very much sort of bridges those things. And it's just very interesting, the catering managers who just, we're not sure about her, we don't think she knows what she's doing, we're not convinced. And then they'll say to me, I like you, I believe in you. And then after that, they're on board with the program and life gets easier again.
Fair enough.
It's good.
So who do you think appreciates you the most? It could be like the government, it could be colleagues, it could be patients that, you know, appreciate your service.
I don't think patients know I exist.
No, I don't.
So I think that I don't actually see lots of patients like as a one-to-one. That's not what I do. I would go and visit a patient on a ward if necessary. But
oh, really?
If they're very complicated and have a lot of requirements that are quite unique, I try to empower my team to be able to go and liaise with the patients directly, because I cover a lot of sites. So it's
really?
not always. At the moment, I cover 3, but I've done 5 different hospitals. So I may not be on site to go and see a patient. So I try to make sure that the patient dining managers have the knowledge that they need to be able to do it and be a phone call away. So I don't think patients know that I exist and the input that I do to them. Does government appreciate me? I don't know if the government knows what I do either.
When I say by that, it could be like, I don't know, funding for more, you know.
In that respect, I would say I think with all the hospital review that's happened and coming out, I think definitely we are starting to see more catering dietitians being employed. FM companies. So facilities management companies, so things like Serco or Mighty or ISS, they tend to come into hospitals and deliver the catering, portering, cleaning, those services, and they will tend to have dietitians as part of their team. So all the jobs that I've had until this one have been in industry, working with them. Hospitals now are more getting a catering dietitian with different degrees of time dedicated to what they're doing. So I think in that respect, the role is definitely becoming more. I'm getting asked more for my job description to share it because it encompasses a lot of things, from visitor and staff health and well-being if we have restaurants or cafes, just lots and lots of different aspects. So that way I think is the government and wider world is getting a bit more to know. But I would say it's my colleagues definitely. And I think they see more what I do. My role is quite unique. I have a very different skill set. I have the dietetics, I have the food safety, all of the allergen side of things, and lots of management, which typically doesn't sort of go together, but actually works quite well for the role that I do. So I'd say my colleagues, they're the ones that say, thank you, I appreciate what you've done, I see what you did.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And is there any like misconceptions to your role, or misconception of what you do, or misconceptions?
Loads and loads. My cousin, whenever he's asked what I do, he says it's starters, mains, dessert. That's the epitome of what he thinks I do. And I'm like a little bit more complicated than that, I'd like to say. I think that we're first and foremost known for the work that we do around menus, but I don't think that people are always so aware of maybe all the work that I do around food safety and checking.
Well, like?
So I do lots of audits, I do lots of education about, you know, making sure that the food that is given to the patient is safe. in hospital.
As in what,
They're
like-
very vulnerable. Their immune systems are very, suppressed a lot of the time, so they're more likely to become unwell if they get food that hasn't been prepared safely, hasn't been reached the right temperature, hasn't been stored properly. So all of those things I kind of get involved in as well. I get involved in taking a lot of their patients' opinions. So all the times that you get feedback about the food, that will all come to me, and I will see it, and I'll be like, well, what could we do? What can we improve? What can we do differently? I think a big chunk of my work is along the food service process before it even gets to the patient, just trying to facilitate that and help that happen more smoother. So I do a lot of work with the suppliers, with procurement, with could we tweak this? Can we do this a little bit differently? Do you have a product that could meet my needs a bit more differently? We experiment with things before they come out to the wider world and the public. Lots of making policies and processes for how can we do this safely, and standardising things, which helps to have a very systematic brain. So I'm like, why are you doing it like this? Let's just do it like this. Lots of mentoring. I'm finding that I spend a lot of time nurturing people and developing them and helping them to trust themselves to, do their jobs and empower them to, I'm like, you can do this, you've got this, I think they want to be able to say, Annette said I have to do this. And I'm like, no. So I'm 99% sure you know what to do. You go do it. So there's a lot of other stuff that happens, so beyond just the menus, which is nice.
Because first of all, I didn't know you had you're the person behind the menu, and I only just thought that it was just the dietitians either in GP practices or on the wards.
There's lots of things that dietitians do, even like care homes. So I lecture as well, so I get that's quite good fun. On the catering module at London Met, which was really interesting for me because that's where I trained to do dietetics. So when I was asked if I would do it, I was like, oh yes, I would. But then going into the building and literally teaching people, and I could be like, I sat there and I listened to people, and now I'm here and these guys are listening to me. It was very surreal. So that was a nice way to be able to give back and to share my knowledge and stuff.
It's an amazing experience.
Definitely.
All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go into the rapid fire questions. So basically 3 questions. It's either yes or no, or pick a choice.
Okay.
Alright, so for our first question, if you had to pick a diet that was most healthy for the body, which one would you recommend? A plant-based diet or a diet that consumes meat and dairy?
That's a well-tricked question. I am a firm believer that your diet should be suitable for your needs.
Right.
And that we can't look, what works for you doesn't necessarily work for me.
Agreed.
So I think that you need to have a proper understanding of your body.
Right.
So for example, for me, if I'm in my flare and I'm particularly not well, I need to have very high protein, high calorie, lots and lots of energy dense foods that I wouldn't normally have if I was in the well stages of my life. But you would not look at me. You might come and have a meal with me one day and be like, wow, why is she eating all that energy dense stuff? Isn't she, worried about putting on weight? But I'm knowing that I need to eat that way to sustain my body. So I don't think there's a one diet fits all. I just think that there are things that we could all do with avoiding.
Right.
Or not avoiding, eating less of.
Right.
I also don't think that we should mark foods as good or bad, because I think it just sets up for very dysfunctional kind of eating. So, and I was very conscious of it with my children to not be like, ice cream is bad, you shouldn't eat it. There's nothing wrong with ice cream. Have ice cream. Maybe don't eat the whole litre in one sitting,
Moderation is key.
Exactly, and I think it's more important to learn how to eat moderately. And I've seen that people do that very differently. My daughter will have 1 cube of chocolate and be satisfied. My son will want to eat the entire store. So, it's very, very different. So I don't think there's a one diet that is perfect for everybody. I think we all need to understand understand food better
Okay.
and have a better relationship with it and eat to support our own body.
But if you had to pick a choice, alright, knowing what you know, if you had to pick a choice, you just had to. You had to pick a choice. That's why it's called a rapid fire. Pick a choice.
So
I'm not gonna hold it to you.
vegetarian and vegan or meat with dairy.
Basically.
Jeepers creepers. I will say meat with dairy.
Okay.
Because I think if you do vegetarian, vegan, you have to think very hard about what you're bringing together. And it's a bit easier to do it the other way around.
Which one's more?
I'm going to get disbarred.
Alright.
That's my answer.
That's my answer. Alright, let's stick with it. Alright. For our second question, has there been any adverse reaction to something that you've made, cook, or that has been on your menu?
At hospital or personally in my own life?
Say both.
An adverse reaction to something that I've cooked for me or the other people eating it. Are you asking if I poisoned anyone? No, the answer is no. I'm a very safe cooker.
Fair enough.
And definitely not on my menus, 100%.
Fair enough.
It's about not only what you ate in this meal. What did you eat today? What have you been eating all week? So, you know, one day, one meal that is of questionable nutritional quality is not the end of the world.
Agreed.
One day of eating poorly, again, is not the end of the world. Consistently, weekly, day in, day out, making poor choices, this is a problem. So I think I can only give an example with my kids. I'm very strict about what we have at home. I want it to be nutritional, good quality, because I know when they go out into the world, they'll probably have rubbishy stuff and eat more questionable things. And I don't want them to be hung up about, I had McDonald's with my friends or I went to KFC. I don't mind. You can do that. But
not on a consistent basis.
Exactly. You know, I don't necessarily have Coca-Cola for them to drink every day at the table with dinner. But if we go out for a meal and you want to have Coca-Cola, that's fine. You know, I even have ice cream in my house. Chocolate. So it's about what are you doing overall and what are those things doing? Because for some people, high energy, high nutrition might be what they need, and you can't look at them and just say, oh, you're making bad choices, because you just don't have enough information. So everyone needs to stop looking at everyone else's plate
and look at it,
focus on their own plate, understand what their own body needs, and get food. We need to know more and have food and nutrition better embedded into education. I'm sure my kids are the only one that came home and I'm like, what protein source did you have today? What carbs did you have? Or I'm the only mum that said to Eric, have you noticed when you eat this for your lunch, this is how you feel in your afternoon classes? So that she switched to eat this for lunch because she wanted to be more alert in the afternoon when she was doing her exams, because she's proper driven in her study.
So you know that chart, the food chart, where it says
the Eat Well plate.
70% carbs or 15% fats, 30% that. Well, I didn't do the maths right, but you know what I mean.
I'm familiar with that. Yeah.
So are you saying that should be ignored because you could be more protein based, or you should?
So the Eat Well plate is for a healthy diet for a population.
Right.
It's not necessarily for one individual, it's for a whole population.
Right.
So if the population generally eats this way, the population will generally be well.
Right.
Within the population, you're going to have people that need more or less of some things.
Agreed.
And also that they're going to eat slightly, different. Some people are going to have their traditional foods, and that still can work in the same format. Other people are going to have, very European Western foods, which will work in that format. So it's not a cut or dry sort of thing.
So for our third and final question, which one do you think improves your well-being more? Exercise or diet?
So there's a saying that you can't outrun a poor diet.
Right.
Diet or exercise to improve your well-being?
Yeah, that's a good one, isn't it?
More. Which does it more? I'm gonna say exercise.
Okay.
Because
Very good.
I think the physiological responses are going to be more beneficial for well-being and feeling, and I think you're going to feel them faster than you would for diet. If you'd made changes in your diet, I think those would take longer to feel.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
No, I hear you.
I'm gonna, yeah.
So exercise
for well-being. Yes.
All right, fair play. Okay, so we're gonna move on to our last rounds. What do you think the health industry will be without your profession, dietitian?
What would it be like?
Yeah.
Oh, I think it would be lacking a huge body of knowledge.
Okay, why did you say that? Why?
Because I think for what dietetics brings to health and well-being, to the hospital, to the medical side, there's a lot of things that require recovery that you could have surgery for, you can do physical changes for, but they're also dependent on nutrition. So for example, if you have celiac disease, it's about the food that you eat. You need that guidance to know what you can eat, what you can't eat, because there's no medicine that's going to fix that. Some things medicines just isn't going to fix, surgery isn't going to fix, and some things nutrition can help with. If you have renal disease, it's all about the potassium and the phosphate and the sodium balance in your diet and how it's affecting your kidneys, and you need that knowledge to support that condition. So there are a lot of conditions that I think you would only get half the care that you need if you didn't have the dietetic element to it.
I can see your profession's incredibly important, just for lifestyle in general.
Definitely.
For people just to know.
I think sometimes as well, we're not seeing dietetics so much outside in the community and like in the well-being. I think there's a lot more dietitians that are coming up and becoming more prominent on Instagram and in social media, because before, if you saw a dietitian, you were a very sick person.
Right, okay.
Whereas you can now access a dietitian to help with weight gain, diet, fussy eating, allergies, all of these sorts of things, and you can do that privately as well. You don't necessarily have to only go through a referral to the hospital.
Okay.
And then at least you know you're definitely getting credible advice. These people have studied, they've got degrees, they've practiced, they've done the research, the evidence base, all of that is supporting the information and the knowledge that you're given.
So what's the difference between, because I see loads of like nutritionists, what's the difference between a nutritionist and a dietitian?
So the term dietitian is protected. You have to have a certain type of education. You have to do a certain type of degree. You have to cover certain material. And you have to do certain kind of practice, and all of that is regulated. To use the title, you have to be part of the HCPC. You have to keep your knowledge up to date, and you have to constantly showing that you are evolving, you're staying at the top of your game, and you're the specialist in what you're doing. I think that there's a big movement to have something similar for nutrition as well, but that's not always been the case. Sometimes you could do that in a 3-week degree, a 3-week course, or sometimes you can go and do a degree. And I have friends that are nutritionists and they've done the 4-year degrees, and their knowledge base is different from what a dietitian does. So the dietitian will do all of that therapeutic side, but nutritionist, because we started off the first year together and then you branch off, and the nutritionists practice slightly differently. If you see a nutritionist, you should also make sure that they're registered as well, that the course that they've studied has been approved by I think it's the Nutrition Society. Oh my goodness, I don't know who regulates nutritionists, but you need to make sure that they're registered as well, so that you're getting good quality, because there's too many influencers out there who know nothing and just want to sell, soup to people, basically, and promise everything, looking very glamorous about it, but actually it's not having any purpose. And I think that is very dangerous, and I realise that the public don't know the difference between a glamorous influencer, a nutritionist that got their qualification online from doing a 3-week course and believes very passionately in what they're talking about, and somebody who's had to go away and really, really study to be scientifically credible for the information that they're giving.
That's interesting. Yeah, no, I didn't know that. That's more knowledge to me. Do you see your profession changing in any way? I don't know. More status?
Yes, I think that lots of professions are changing at the moment. I think that there is a lot of growth that is happening. There's a lot more. I think dietetics is becoming more visible, not just in the clinical side or maybe in the community side, but also in other fields, so food service, all of those sorts of things. And I think our organisation is very much trying to promote more diversity, more inclusion. I know that when I was training, there weren't a lot of black dietitians at all, and I'd get very excited if I saw one. And very recently, I met a dietitian who's also Ugandan, and I'm like, what is this? You know, so that was very exciting. We bonded instantly, but it's just, you know, trying to just be more representative, I think, and I can see that they're trying to do that. And also we need to step up and be visible and be clear and say, you know, here we are, we see you, we got you, we understand what you need, and we're here to support in the provision.
And is there more, like, I remember you said that there's you don't need a GP referral. Is there more private dietitians?
There's lots of dietitians in private practice, so you can, you know, freelance dietitians, you can Google them and you can get involved and you can ask for referrals. There's a lot of
you can ask for referral from your GP.
You can go yourself, or you can be referred as well. So if you've got like private healthcare, I think you can get referred to see them as well.
That's cool.
So it's definitely more availability.
Right. Oh, that's good. And for one of our last questions do you feel there's anything missing from your profession at all? I don't know, some people say work-life balance, pay, it could be whatever.
I don't know if I can speak on behalf of all the dietitians. I think my role is quite unique, and because I'm not so client patient facing and I do lots of things that's behind the scene, I think it's been a lot easier for me to create a work-life balance that works for me.
What do you think is missing then, if there is any?
I think the only thing that's missing but is getting there is more diversity, just more showcasing that this is what a dietitian looks like, as well as this is what a dietitian looks like. More understanding of different cultures, different ways people eat, and being able to provide information for all different cultures as well. But I think that there's a lot of movement helping in that area as well.
So when you're saying different kind of cultures, is that food specific, for example?
So I think, like, instead of just always saying, oh, kale, we'll eat kale, it's okay to have callaloo. Callaloo's good tea. You know, you can have yam, you can have sweet potato, you can have cassava. These are also carbohydrates, as well as pasta, as well as white potatoes, and a bit of balance, just to make sure that, you know, when you're talking to people, we want to advise people to eat in the way that's healthiest for them, and that involves looking at their culture and understanding that culture. And I think we're a very diverse country with lots of different ethnicities and lots of different groups, and we need to be able to speak to each of them. If you were trying to support my mum and you told her to eat yogurt, it's not happening. She's not going to eat yogurt. But we should be able to speak to her and advise her according to what she would typically eat, and for it to not be foreign or strange or different. And I think that just comes from talking and communicating and sharing and educating and just empowering everybody.
And I guess you'll be in the best position because you can find out what she eats and then find the nutritional benefits that would
definitely. There's loads of great work that's going on. and it's all out there on Instagram, it's all out there on Twitter, and it's good. I think I've seen a real evolution of dietitians in social media, and having more of an increased profile, and that's exciting because we need to counter some of these more not so beneficial messages that are coming out, and have a lot more truth, a lot more evidence-based practice out there.
No, I agree, completely agree. All right, for our last question then, this show is called The Professionals You Should Know. Is there any other professionals that you think we all should know? Just one.
I would be very interested to hear from a financial intelligence, financial management.
Okay.
Something like that. Someone who knows about different cultures and their different journeys with finances, because I think that we all treat money and wealth very, very differently. And it's always one of the things when I was younger, I was like, oh, I wish I'd known this when I was growing up. I don't know that we're always very great at teaching our children how to manage money and finances. And I think other cultures may do it better or differently. And I think this would be something that would benefit a lot. So a financial professional. Okay, all right, cool. Make that happen.
Yeah, all right, I will do. Well, it's been a pleasure getting to know you and your journey. It's been a wonderful time speaking with you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on the show.
You're very welcome.
And thank you all for joining.